Guys, Tiffany and Cosplay here, and today's video is part 1 of my Starfire cosplay time lapse. So I used the Yaya Han Ultra Preme fabric and the silver pleather for this costume. You guys will hear me talking over each process. I did split this one up into 2 parts because there's quite a lot in it. Probably a bit boring. Feel free to skip through bits if you want. Yeah, hopefully it's helped to some of you guys, and yeah, I won't get too rambly now. You'll hear it all in the video, and yeah, I hope you guys like it. Thanks. So here I am starting cutting out the top. The fabric I'm using is the Yaya Han Ultra Cream in the purple. Just up on screen there you could see which pattern I was using. It's one of Yaya Han's patterns from the Cosplay McCall's range, and it's number 7554. I did modify the pattern. She has a lot of seam lines, especially on the sleeves, which I didn't want. So yeah, you guys will see that shortly. I will note that I'm not a seamstress at all, so I have no doubt I'm probably using these patterns wrong, so I apologize to those who do know how to use them properly and are probably cringing at what I'm doing. I literally just cut them out, trace around them, modify them as and when I need to, and then make alterations. If you guys haven't used this pattern before and you're not too sure what to do, you can always do a mock-up. Just make sure whatever fabric you use for your mock-up is the same level of stretch as the fabric you will be using. I was also writing on every single piece what they were, because I knew I'd probably forget, and it just helped with making sure things were the right way, especially with the collar. It looks the same whether it's upside down or the right way up. I found it helped me. You guys obviously don't have to do that, whatever works for you. So here it looks like I'm trying to tackle the sleeves. Now you will see I've kind of struggled with this quite a bit. I only had a certain amount of fabric left to use. So I was trying to see if there's any way I could put all the sleeve pieces together, which you can see they come in 3 panels for this particular pattern, to see if I could use just that one piece of fabric instead of getting the whole other bit of fabric out that I had, which clearly I couldn't. So yeah, I had to work with the fabric that I had and kind of hope for the best. So I do apologize that this does go quite blurry, and I'm clearly getting in the way. YouTube videos are still new for me, so I'm having to do it all on my phone or my iMac if it's not recording a costume. So I'm sorry that the quality is not great. It's nighttime, there's very little lighting in the house, so hopefully in time I will end up getting like a good camera and a good lighting setup so you guys can see it a little bit better and a bit clearer. Yeah.
Yeah, we are in the place to be.
So here I'm just sewing panels of the top together. I think from memory I was doing all the panels on the front, then all the panels on the back, and then I would sew on the sleeves and then actually sew the front and back together, as well as the bottom of the sleeves. I find that the easiest way. Whether or not it's the right way, I'm not too sure. That's just what I find works for me. And in regards to the ultra preem, I have no issues with this going through the sewing machine sort of the right way up, or with the inside of the fabric facing up, or aka the wrong side. I don't have a Teflon foot or anything like that. I do use a leather needle though, purely it just goes through everything. And in regards to the pins, they do leave holes in the ultra preens and the pleathers, so if you are going to use them, make sure that you pin on the outside of your stitch, as in not the bit on the inside that you'll be wearing, so it's a bit that's on the seam, I guess. So here, this is the silver pleather, again from the Yaya Han Cosplay Fabrics range. I literally just cut out the pattern, like I traced around the bottom of the sleeve, freehand at the top, cut out 2 of them, fold it over the top, and I'm just sewing that on top. I've done a straight stitch along the side. That's going to be invisible when I sew the sleeves together, and I'm using a zigzag stitch along the top purely so it has more stretch. This is going to be a tight fitting costume, and I need that stretch to not be affected by the stitching. As you can see, I ended up pulling all the pins out because I find with stretch fabric it tends to bunch up quite a bit, and it was just easier to have no pins. I was near the end anyway. So yeah, this probably not the neatest, but yeah, when it's sewn together you're not going to see that top stitch line. And this is just a second sleeve done in the exact same way. I obviously did this before I attached them to the other part of the top that I've sewn together, because I figured if they're on their own it's going to be easier to sew than trying to deal with this when it's attached to something else. Okie dokie, so I've now pinned the whole top together inside out, and I'm stitching the sleeves and then along the side of the top. And as you can see, I've started my stitch a long way in from the edge. I do find with the Yaya patterns the arms are really wide. I have pretty skinny arms, so that could be one of the reasons that they're always way too big. Like, they probably would fit me in a non-stretch fabric. So I kind of err on the side of caution though. I'll stitch it a little bit bigger, try it on, and then gradually bring it in. I did not do a mock-up for this. If you do a mock-up initially, when you're cutting into your proper fabric, you're obviously not going to have this problem. But I was just trying to be quick, get the costume done really quick, and yeah, this is how I do it. Living life on the edge, clearly. But yeah, this is what works for me. For some costumes moving forwards, I'll absolutely be doing a mock-up, but for this one, I knew it was going to be too big initially, and it's easier to remove fabric than it is to add it back. So obviously not shown here, I did keep trying this top on to figure out where I needed to restitch. There was quite a bit of modifying and tweaking size-wise when I put it on. I was using the smaller pattern. Most patterns come in 2 sets of sizes. I was using the smallest, and I think I cut it out to about the 8, not the 6. Not too sure if it's an American or, you know, Australian, European sizing. I don't think it specifies on there. I assumed it was Australian sizing, which is why I went for the 8, but yeah, it was too big, especially because I needed that fabric to really stretch to fit good. So here you can see the top is sewn together, and I'm just using like a Sharpie marker to draw the holes. You could measure these up if you want them exactly perfect, especially as you can see my mannequin's pretty, she doesn't stand straight anyway, but I just winged it. I drew them on. I figured you're not going to see them because they're going to be, the hole's going to be cut out, and then the lines are going to be covered with silver edging. And again, I apologize about my wet washed hair, which is looking pretty funky on screen. this point I've now pinned the collar on. I haven't sewn it yet. I just wanted to get the holes cut out and just get more of a rough idea of how it's all going to come together. And as you can see here along the base of the top, I did the zigzag stitch as well. So pretty much the seams on that are on the inside, since it's been, you know, made the right way, they are generally straight stitches, whereas anything that is stretching wide, whereas on the outside I've generally done the zigzag stitch.
Yeah, we are in the place to be.
So now we have the addition of the silver details. I don't think I recorded how I made them, or if I did it got lost in translation from the phone to the computer. But basically I just cut out strips of the silver stretch pleather. I folded them over twice and zigzag stitched the whole way. So I just did a heap of long lengths of that because I knew I could just cut them as and where I needed. So where the circles are, I haven't folded over the edge because there's going to be more silver around those, which will cover it. You could definitely put these on before you actually sew the top together, so which probably would be a bit easier, but I wasn't 100% sure on where everything was lining up until I had made the top, which is why I did it last. So here I'm adding it to the top of the collar. And I just bent it in the direction it needed to go for the top. And then that little bit of excess purple I just cut out. So now I'm stitching some edging around the little holes on the sleeves. The silver edging that I made was just way too wide and was never going to work. So I went out to my local Spotlight, which is a fabric store here in Australia, and I just found like a thin silver ribbon type thing. And I've just pinned that on, and I ended up stitching this by hand. It was just way too small and way too intricate to even bother attempting with the sewing machine. Again, there could be an easy way to do this, but I was just trying to be quick. And you kind of get the rough idea of how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, we are in the place to be.
So you can see here that the shorts are already made. I did actually make them first, but they're going to be in the next video. I kind of did my own pattern for those, but yeah, so don't worry guys, I'll show you how I made those in the next video. Now these here are just little loops that I created to attach to the end of the point on the sleeves, just to help hold them down in place, because with this fabric it does have a habit of kind of riding up a little bit on the sleeves, especially if you have it so stretched out. You could probably make the sleeves a bit longer, but I just found this kind of worked. I probably did make the sleeves a tad too short because these pulled really kind of tight on my fingers and it actually hurt. But yeah, this is an option that it kind of blends in with the costume, so if you do need something to hold that point down, you could either use fishing wire, probably not comfortable but you wouldn't see it. You could use something flesh toned. I just had a last minute idea, so I just used the silver that I had on hand. Okay, so this is what I used to create my gems. These are just big googly eyes that again I got from my local Spotlight. You can get them from any store that has craft supplies. I cut out the back, took out the black pupil, and initially I was just going to paint this, but I did find that the paint was really thin. I tried adding pigment powder in there and it just wasn't giving me a solid color, so I ended up squirting a bucket ton of that paint in. As you can see, it's kind of like a jelly-like paint. When it got dry enough, because it didn't actually dry solid like I hoped it would, I just actually waxed some hot glue on the back just to seal that all in there. And here I'm adding the silver edging, and I'm just gluing this on. I didn't obviously want to sew it on because it's a hard plastic. It was just not going to happen. I'm using contact cement because I know it's one thing that's not going to come apart. And here you can actually see me pinning the silver onto the holes, and you can see how fiddly it really is. It's probably a good idea if you have kept the second layer underneath like I did here, purely because I was lazy, to stitch that together, because it's really hard getting everything to line up right. Or yeah, you just cut out the base and only have your top layer. Whereas as you saw in the early bit of the video, I just sewed that silver straight on top of the old cream. So now my glue is set, so I'm just sticking it around the edge. Now I was careful to leave some of the fabric overhanging because you do need the space to be able to sew that onto the top and the shorts. So here you can see this is where it is going, and I'm pinning it on there, and again I'm hand sewing it. There's just not enough space or fabric to even attempt putting this through the sewing machine, so unfortunately it's back to hand sewing, which is one thing I really hate doing. here I am sewing the top silver line to the edge around the gem, just so if it stretches or bends, it's actually not going to come apart. You're not going to have like a bit of purple showing in between or anything. So much for watching part 1 of my Starfire time lapse. I hope it was helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it and didn't find it too boring. If you have any questions, as always, just shoot me a comment below. I'll answer them as best as I can, or follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Everything's written below. I'm not going to say linked in case I can't in the description. So anyway, yeah, feel free to ask me. I'm always happy to help people out where I can. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in part 2. Bye!